Hey, welcome to Fans of the Forge. I'm Chris. To my left we have...
Tonight it's Sean.
Tonight it's Sean. Missing from our set is Teresa, who is at camp for the summer. We miss you dearly. But we are back, and we are here to do a Forge and Fire wrap-up and talk about some stuff.
Cool. A lot of stuff to talk about.
A lot of stuff to talk about. It was a very busy week since we last recorded. So... first things first, we're not going to do our standard Forge and Fire wrap-up the way we normally do because we didn't get a chance to really watch it. So we're going to watch it while we record and comment on it as we go along and do it that way.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
So let's get started.
Right.
This is the Astronaut.
The Astronaut knife.
Hey! Wait. Pause this. You're going to pause now. All right. So that was Tom Garden, who used recycled materials.
Yeah.
As for his 99% of his 150 knives.
I was like, recycled material. Oh, he's pulling stuff like out of the trash. No. Just like lawnmower blades and tools.
Still recycled, just old steel.
Okay.
Jason Anderson was just a full-time Smith.
Full-time Smith, yeah. Looks like a little bit of...
David Draymond. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
A little disturbed.
A little bit.
Yeah. I wonder if he's down with a sickness.
He's coming in with some...
yeah.
Maybe he's got 10,000 fists with a hammer in his hand. Then we had Sam Farmer. He was 4 years part-time Smith.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last guy here... is Mark Campana. Do you remember who he is?
A little bit.
He was on Knife or Death.
Yes.
And they cut him from the episode.
That's right.
And so when we posted our wrap-up for that Knife or Death, I had put up this screenshot with a question mark. Like, who the hell is this guy?
That? Yeah.
And then I heard from everyone on that episode and him all saying, hey, it's me. Hey, it's Mark. And so we re-tagged it and everything. Yeah. But we did a whole separate little video when they finally showed his run.
That's right.
Online. Yep. So that's cool. We're going to see Mark back in action.
Right, a little redemption for Mark here.
All right.
Shirt with no sleeves. It's a little space blanket covering some hidden thing. Oh, Nielsen's back.
The Pain Train. Our contestants had to recreate the Case & Sons M1 astronaut knife.
Yeah.
Used by NASA for all of its space missions, essentially.
For Gemini and Apollo.
And they've taken it 9 trips to the moon, this style of knife. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Originally made out of stainless steel, according to what they mentioned there. But they had to recreate this knife. It had to have an 8 to 10 inch blade, 22-inch overall length. It needed to have a 2-inch width at the belly, a full tang, and a sawback that had to be completed by the end of round 2.
Right.
And they had to harvest their steel from 52-100 ball bearings.
Yeah.
And then we find out right before they get to start that if they make it through the end of round 2, they will have a triple strength test.
Yeah.
To test these knives before doing a sharpness test. So that could be very interesting.
Right.
So it's looking good so far.
Yeah, looks good. And they were given blueprints.
Oh, that's right. All right, so for round 1, they all really chose the largest ball bearing there was available, even though the judges are like, why start with that? There's plenty in the smaller ones.
Yeah. Maybe not. Like the one in the middle. I guess the middle size. I don't know how many sizes, but there was like a middle size.
3 sizes.
Yeah,
the middle size was definitely the right choice, and everyone went the largest.
Everyone went with the largest one.
And we made a note here that Sam struck you as looking
like Ed Sheeran. Yeah,
it was interesting.
And David Draymond also looks like David Lee Roth.
Double Davids.
Yeah,
very impressive.
Sounds a little bit like. The last clip I heard of him, he sounded a little bit like James Hetfield.
This is a weird combination.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on for this guy.
A lot of metal.
Yeah.
It's good.
And there's a lot of, the captions, heavy rock music playing. And,
yeah.
Yeah, so.
So for Mark, he squashed his ball in one heat, and the judges were like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, that was amazing. That was
it was that hot.
It was just like a ball of Jello that just squished right down like a marshmallow. That's what it was like, a marshmallow just right down.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive, but not,
judges weren't too thrilled with that.
That could be introducing lots of stress. Yeah. He also really thinned out his blade, and then he ground a saw back in before he quenched, and he had a bit of a warp after the quench. For Tom, he yelled, "Geez, flip!"
Yeah,
trying to get the ball bearings
right.
apart.
Very difficult to get those apart. Everyone was complaining about those.
And then he basically had a sword for a billet after he drew out his ball bearing.
Yeah, drew it really far out.
Cut most of it off, and then he hot quenched. Super hot quench.
It was a really hot quench.
And it wasn't looking so good after.
Well, then he put it on the cold anvil, and then the judge was like, "Look, you can watch it warp right now. It's just rising up." And Nielsen's like, "You never lay it flat, especially on a cold surface."
Yeah, it was not
after a
good.
quench.
Jason, he had the only note beyond the fact that he looked like David Lee Roth and David Draymond was that he had a really freaking long handle on his.
Yeah, so he's within parameters, he says, but the handle was like really long. The handle was about like half the size of the blade overall, and he ground like a whole like, you know, I guess big
like a swell into it, so that
so all the fingers would go into it, and it was just like double. Like you put two hands in there. It was kind of funny.
It was pretty big. So then we moved on to judging.
They didn't even bother to just even hold it. Like if someone's over, they bring it up there. The guys, like, they'll say their whatever comments about it, and then they get the pocket tape measure, and you say, "Wow, gee, that's 3/8 of an inch too long." And then you get the boot, not this. Yeah. Hey, it's too long. You're out of here.
Get out of here.
Shake
Don't
the
even
hands
come over
and leave. And even like I want to hear some critiques on that.
Yeah.
How did he do? Was it too thin, too thick? How'd it go?
Right. Well, we just told you who ended up getting the boot, which was Tom. And the other guys basically all had decent blades. You know, Mark's warp was talked about. Sam, nothing really bad to say there.
No.
And then Jason's just that big
handle is just too big. He's got to figure out something to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's about it.
Yep, that's about it. So then they move into round 2, which is finishing up their blades. All right. So round 2. Listen, I would say I'd give this to you to read, but my handwriting's terrible.
All right, you just roll with it.
I'll just roll with it here. So they had to add handle using Corby bolts. Jason cut his handle, welded his flare back on. Sam grinded his blade because his was too thick. He used the angle grinder. Mark used the propane torch to soften his handles and still spent about an hour drilling holes through his handle.
Yeah, he had some trouble drilling holes.
And then Sam had an easy fit up. Jason put on his saw teeth and also got his handle on. So we come back for testing for the first ever triple strength test.
Yeah, I can't wait to see all these tests.
All these triple strength tests. So they had the earth dig, the bamboo chop, and the steel plate stab.
Yep.
And up first we had Mark.
Yep.
And his was in the earth.
Yep.
He was stabbing in there.
He was stabbing it in, and he was kind of like digging it out when he was bringing it up
bending
to
a little.
Shoot some dirt around.
And on the 6th, and according to Will, re-entry into the earth,
right.
The 6th re-entry, the tip, a good chunk of the tip broke off right where at the serration, the first one for the first tooth. So he must have had a microfracture there. So the other two, Sam and Jason, then just had to pass 6 stabs into the dirt, which was Jason even says the fact that one test where you have to stab into a bucket of dirt is the one thing that's holding him back from moving on to the final round is insane, and it really was. Yeah. But Sam and Jason both passed, so Mark ended up getting the boot. What are you gonna do? But it was a good admirable attempt. You move on to round 3. So you'd think this episode is like, hey, astronaut and the first trip to the moon and all that stuff. Right. Well, no, your final round, you're just going to be making a spiked mace.
Spiked mace.
Pretty badass weapon.
Yeah.
But not really much along the space theme.
No.
Bone-crushing blows with a spiked mace. It had spikes for puncturing armor. The handle had to have a can-do style with a figure 8 guard, a knuckle bow, and a pommel. You need to have 24 spikes, and one of your spikes needs to be at least 2 inches long.
Yeah, it's like they showed like a final spike at the end.
It's unlike the other ones. It looks like a sword that has a ball sticking at the end of it, because like the big tip pointing out the top was the long one. Yeah. So they get 4 days in their home forge to make their spiked mace.
Yep.
Do we need to watch the rest of this? 1 minute.
No. What else is there to watch? You just want to check for $10,000.
All right.
So we're back. And
round 3.
Round 3, they're going to home forges. So they start off with Sam. Day 1, he's forging the spikes, and his plan was to do that and do heat treat. So he's using 4140 tool steel rods to make his spikes. On day 2, he finishes making the rest of them and mounting them to the ball. And he created this kind of steel jacket to put over the spikes to further secure them to the ball.
Yep.
Which is kind of cool. On day 4, he's creating his handle pieces, and he puts decorative grooves on his knuckle bow, and he finishes everything off with a leather wrap on the handle. Mm-hmm. Moving on to Jason, his forge name is OTH Forge and Foundry. So
I looked him up on Instagram. I couldn't find him, but maybe he's on Facebook.
All right. Day 1, he's forging out his spikes. He's using S7 steel for the spikes. It's like his durable steel. And he wants to drill and tap the spikes in the ball. The spike is too hard to drill into, so he just welds like the pieces of all thread he was going to use onto those. On day 2, he's attaching the head to the rod, if you will, and he's kind of finishing up his handle construction. And then he also on day 4, he plans to like pin the head to the shaft and kind of just do some finish work there. So moving on to testing, kill tests, dummy smash by Doug. For Jason, the handle fits nicely. It's got a good grip. It crushes with any. When I say crushes with every spike, it crushes with every spike.
Oh yeah.
However, about 5 spikes broke off.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it did crazy damage to that dummy, though. Like the faces of it exploded and everything else. It's pretty good.
It will kill.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on to Sam, it's got a heavy forward weight to it, but easily penetrates. However, the handle gets in the way during use. It will kill. So then moving on to the strength test, it's a terracotta smash. So for Jason, he lost some more spikes off of his ball, but it's comfortable to use. And Jay Nielsen also made a point to say, even though the spikes broke off, you still have these little nubs that can do damage.
Yeah.
Whoop-de-doo.
And it was funny because you said, "Oh, they're really going out of the way to make it look good."
They're going out of the way to make it sound like, hey, it'll still do some damage, yeah, because you still got little pieces. Like, okay, so but there's still like half a ball that's got spikes on it, and this ball itself it's a big steel ball. So yeah, I would say it would do some damage.
Definitely do some damage, but Sam's was still all intact.
Right, he didn't lose any spikes.
Right.
He still had a weapon, so I'm like, okay, well, what's gonna happen next? You were like, what? No, they're not gonna kick it. No, there's not. So Jay Nielsen grabs this mace. He's holding it, and then he looks to the judges, walks over. They do a little powwow, and he puts the weapon back on the anvil.
It's very, very heavy.
Yeah,
it's heavier than the head.
Yeah, the handle is heavier than the head. Jay said, and they were like, it came down to they didn't test it because it was too dangerous to test with.
Yep.
So Sam got the boot, and that's unfortunate.
I mean, okay, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. They don't want to get hurt, and Jay had to have surgery done because of his injuries, and he said multiple times already in this season he had to go get checked out after working on doing some of these tests. So it's like, I get it. They don't want to get hurt. Man, I think that fucking mace was awesome.
It looked amazing. So the shaft was had this hammered finish to it, and it looked just really medieval. It
was good.
He tanned his own leather.
It was crazy.
And he used that for the handle wrap.
And I think they're just saying a lot of the problem was he put this very ornate, extra pommel. It was a lot of extra weight.
Yeah, it was these discs.
Yeah, stacked discs.
Stacked discs. It was 3 of them. They're big, and that made it heavy. I don't know they didn't really say what was preventing them from actually wielding it. Okay,
I think Jay was concerned about how the weight of it would react when it hit the pots to the point where it might break a wrist or bend a wrist the wrong way. I don't know.
If so, then, well, they know. And Sam missed out on some money. I think, however, Jason still won.
And
kudos to Jason. He came with a weapon. It did damage, and he won.
Yeah,
so,
congratulations.
Good job. Congrats.
And that is our Forge and Fire wrap-up.
That's our wrap-up.
So now for a quick break. And we are back. So, next up we have our social media roundup segment with a new title we're going to try out called the Gram Scan.
Gram Scan. All right, I like it. We
spent a lot of time scanning through Instagram. So I thought that made a little bit of sense. So we have a couple different things this week to talk about. What's one of the first ones we should bring up?
How about Joshua Prince?
Oh, Josh Prince.
Cool Damascus that he's doing.
Oh, my gosh. This Damascus pattern that he put together, he's been showing the process for this over the last couple weeks at least, where he's been stacking these cubes in crazy different configurations. Everybody watching is like, what is this dude doing? And then he finally today showed what the pattern looked like. And he just forged it, and it's a pattern of cubes. Going past each other. And you can see all these different faces, and it just gives it this cool textured, 3D
look. In I think it was Windows 95, one of the backgrounds you could have was the blocks.
Yeah.
And that was the thing. It was just the geometric blocks that just look like they're going up or going down.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it looks, and it's really cool.
It's really, really neat.
Yeah.
And it was, I've been super just impressed following that guy's work on doing his crazy. He has a lot of good Damascus stuff that he's put out there, and he makes some great knives, and he's a cool dude.
Yeah.
And, I'll get into that a little bit more.
Okay. He had Jesse James stop by his shop.
Yeah,
recently
apparently he chatted with Jesse James and Jesse James bought a house in Rhode Island and decided to stop in at Josh's shop. So that's pretty awesome.
Sick.
So if you're not already following him, go follow Prince Forgeworks, I believe.
What else? Jay Nielsen continuing on his testing of the Forged and Fire branded cutlery.
Yes. He really picked up the severity of the test.
Yeah.
For this week.
Hey, he's just doing the testing that they did on the commercials.
So the one that I saw, he laid out a kitchen knife, like a bread knife or something, on some boards.
Yeah.
Tied them down, and then just chopped down, just slammed down on this with the fork.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing that test in any commercials where they cut a knife in half with the knife, but that's what he was attempting.
Mm-hmm.
And he took a lot of swings, didn't cut through the knife.
No.
Damaged it.
Yeah, it was definitely bent to hell.
It was beat up,
But the Forged in Fire knife edge broke.
It took some...
It had some bad bends and rolls there.
Yeah. It's a little sad now.
Teensy-weensy bit.
I wouldn't want to use it.
No.
Not after that.
No, you can't really use it for anything after that. So interesting to see Jay Nielsen continue to go through. And it's been fun watching his videos of that. And one other thing I wanted to mention was last week we talked about how Josh Weston had posted about needing to sell some knives so he could fix his grinder or get a new grinder. And you and I were looking at the pictures of what he offered. And he had this little shark fin dive knife that he had designed and created.
Yeah.
That had sold very quickly. And we were both like, damn, that is a cool knife.
That was pretty cool.
We would really love one of those.
Yeah.
And, it was funny because on Monday morning, Josh Weston put a video up.
Yeah.
And after he posted the video, he commented on his own video tagging us saying, after I saw fans of the Forge talking about my shark knife, I decided to make a brand new version of it that's bigger rather than the tiny little version. So Josh went and redesigned this thing and
to make it a large version,
a large version of it, with more of like a wood handle and stuff to it. It looked like, and it was pretty cool to watch that. It was only like a 3-minute video of him designing it, but it was really neat.
Oh yeah, it was really cool to watch. Yeah, the design on a computer and stuff, and it was something I had never seen before. It was really neat.
Yeah, so keep an eye out on Josh Weston's feed because I guarantee he's probably going to start making some of those knives as soon as he gets a grinder up and running. And those could be some really cool knives to own for sure. Was there any other stuff on the gram?
I don't know. I'm tapped out.
I think that's a good gram scan.
Yeah.
So that was it. That was the gram scan.
Gram scan.
Now, we move on to Tales from Infinite Forge.
All right.
And we are going to forego our Blade Speak section this week because this is going to take a little bit.
Yeah. So do you want to do my stuff first?
Let's do your stuff first.
So I don't know if we got into any of this, but Chris made some more hot sauce.
I had talked about that on the first new version that we did. I talked about making a big batch of hot sauce.
All right. And you made it. And
I did.
You gave me a couple jars, and you wanted to try out some jerky flavoring, with that. So I said, all right, I think we can soak some jerky in this hot sauce and then see how it goes.
Right. So
that's what I did this past week.
Oh, yeah. This bag was probably twice as full when he got here.
It was. So I bought a London broil. I sliced it up. I've talked about the process before.
Mm-hmm.
I threw several pieces into the hot sauce. I did it. Well, I threw it all in, and then I took some pieces out because I had the grill going already. They didn't have a long soak, maybe 2 hours. Threw them on there, did my thing as best as I could, pulled them off, and then the next night I did the rest in the oven, which is something I haven't done before.
Yeah.
So cooling rack on top of a cookie sheet, lay them out, throw them in the oven. They're going, and I don't know. I was checking a couple hours, and then I forgot I had a convection oven, so I turned a fan on in there to really suck the moisture out. That'll speed up the process. It did. Everything got really dark. It looked good. I might do that in the future. I'm not sure. Might have some liquid smoke because I usually like to get some smoke flavor off the grill. I didn't with this, but suffice to say, this jerky came out pretty awesome. It came out different than the grill test because it had a longer soak, so there's some more heat in this one.
Yep.
It's pretty good.
It's good. So we didn't bring the other bag down, but I could say we tried both of them. This one, the oven one, definitely you taste the hot sauce a lot more. Yeah. You get a lot more of the heat because it's soaked for so much longer. and the taste isn't necessarily getting overpowered by the smokiness of it. Which the ones that you did on the grill, not that it's overpowered, but there's definitely more smokiness to it. But I like that. But it also changed the texture. So the one upstairs is a little drier and a little chewier. This one like breaks apart as you're chewing it in your mouth. Yeah. It's really good. It's really delicious stuff. So that was a fun challenge. I think we need to do that again. And maybe I'll try to pick a new flavor of hot sauce that could make a good jerky. I do have some of my other berry Ghost Reaper. Oh. Is it Ghost? Not Ghost Reaper. Ghost Chili, or maybe Reaper Pepper.
Oh, crap.
It's actually, the sauce is not that much spicier than the habaneros. Okay. If anything, it might be less.
Right.
Because I didn't cook it super spicy. So I might have a jar or a small bottle of that could go towards maybe a small batch if you're going to do another one at some point.
And then I still have all the hot sauce left over. So Chris he's commissioning me to do some candied bacon with it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Dude, he makes candied bacon, right? It's amazing.
It's pretty good.
He showed up here once with 4 different kinds that he had made. Yeah, that's right. And I just like was plowing through.
Yeah.
It's so delicious.
Yeah, I haven't done it in a while, so I'll have to get back into it. But that's a easy process, really. It's just mixing up some stuff. You slather it on, you throw it in the oven, you flip, repeat. You just keep you do it a few times. So I'll have to kind of figure out, because I usually have it's brown sugar mixed with apple cider vinegar,
right? And
then that's your paste. So with the hot sauce,
it's already basically that with peppers in it. And
yeah. So the sugar from the sauce might just be enough. So I might do a small batch, see how it comes out. Maybe I'll add some sugar to it.
Yeah.
Who knows? We'll play around with it.
That's going to be so good. I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
Anything else to report?
No. I mean, no
progress on those fixtures for you?
No, zero. I mean, it's done now. No one's calling me back, so it's over with. I mean, maybe down the road I'll actually buy some new stuff and tear out the back half of the wall and see if I can retrofit stuff without busting tiles in the front.
Yeah.
So that's that. The only thing I did is I bought some new lug nuts for the Jeep, threw them on because the older ones were steel lug nuts, but they had this aluminum jacket around them to make their final dimension. Well, the problem is, after many years, the steel part of the lug nut on several of them started to rust out, bulged out the jacket, so I couldn't put the socket on there anymore. So you'd have to wail on it with a hammer to get the socket on there, or for one or two, even that wasn't working, so I had to chisel the jacket off in order to put a socket on there and get the lugs off. Yeah, that's how bad it was. So
is this something? No, so are you talking about a plating?
No, it's not even a plating. It's just a thin. It's a separate piece of metal. Yeah, it's a separate piece of metal, just jacketed around it to make up its final dimension. Because I could peel it off with a chisel. Just
no shit. I had no idea they did that.
They probably don't do it anymore because it's not a good way to make stuff.
Well, no, steel and aluminum don't play nice together either.
Well, especially if you get a crack or some way for water to get in there, it's going to rust out, or even from the backside somehow if it gets through the threads.
Yeah,
it's going to rust out, and that's what these are doing. So more and more and more we're doing it. So I finally just bought a new set. The only problem with the new set is the part that goes on first. So there's a cone.
Yeah.
That mates with the wheel. Well, these have a narrower cone. They're not as flared out. So if you're not careful, I was starting to really wrench on one kind of as I was tightening things up, and I started to go past the wheel a little bit because it's a soft, it's not really magnesium, maybe. It might be magnesium, or I don't know. It's a softer metal. It's not steel, so it was starting to seem like it might have been starting to go through because there wasn't enough cone to hold it from doing it, from just passing through. So hopefully there's no more problems with that. That's that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't really get any work done, even though I have the forge out there. It's been a really busy week.
Yeah.
because on Friday of last week, I drove up to Maine for the New England School of Metalwork Bladesmithing Symposium.
Nice.
Which, let me tell you, was a heck of an experience. It was a very fun event, very informative. I took classes. I have the schedule here still from the event. So I took classes with Lynn Ray, who's master smith, well-renowned. He showed how to make his X-ray style knife, which is a blacksmith knife that has a tenon joint to basically, you take your blacksmith style handle where it's just your tang that's stretched and brought around. Yeah. He has it so that you put you flare out the end of the tang, put a hole in it, you forge a hole in it, and then you mate that with a piece that's protruding from right below the blade, and it mates together.
Yeah.
And to watch him forge this whole thing out and see how he forges that special piece to come off the bottom, and then line it all up, just forging it.
Yeah.
He forged a square hole, and then he forges this thing to a nice square shape to fit in there. And then he's just like lightly tapping it, and you're just watching it slowly just go toot, 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 and just line right. Like he's tapping the back end to move this down, and then it just lines right up. It was really something to see. It was really cool. It was a great class, a couple hours. While that was happening, Emiliano Carrillo was doing a classroom session about Oroshigane and Japanese blades. And Oroshigane is basically the Japanese style of creating steel, I believe.
Okay.
And so when I walked out of this class, I heard a bunch of guys saying, "Oh, Emiliano's doing a smelt in the back." So you walk out back, and he has this forge setup. Well, not like a forge setup, but it's like a little fire pit made with fire bricks. And then underneath it, there's, rocks and a layer of ash, like from a fireplace, a bunch of fireplace ash, and then coals, right? A lot of just regular coals. And he took that, got a fire started in it, using a shop vac to pump this thing with air. So it got a really hot fire going using these coals. And then he took pieces of pure iron that he had gotten from somewhere. I guess it's not very easy to get pure iron like this, but he weighed it out to a certain amount, and then he threw it in just on top of the fire.
Yeah.
And then it melts down, and as it goes through the coal, the iron is taking carbon from the coal and then settling in the bottom, making steel slag. Right. And then he goes and once it's all done, everything's melted, he grabs it, brings it. At first they did one where they were using sledgehammers to kind of help compress it all together and flatten it out. Yeah. And the second one, he actually grabbed it, ran inside to the power hammer, and slammed it down and flattened it out a little bit better. But this is like the traditional way of making this type of steel. Nice. So when you go to use that to make a blade, it's going to have a very traditional, old school look to it. It was really awesome. Cool. And the amount of supplies to make this, like set up to be able to smelt your own steel, was, I mean, you're talking 6 fire bricks and a shop vac and some ashes and charcoal. And then you gotta get the iron to be able to do it.
Right.
But he said that he's actually done it before, where they've had a stand, like a grate, like a grill grate, that they had stand up off the top of it, so that as they're heating this thing super hot, they're cooking chicken and stuff while they're throwing steel inside onto the actual fire.
That's cool.
So I'm like, dang, that sounds like an awesome thing to do. Make some steel while we're cooking up some sausages or something.
Next camping trip, or backyard barbecue.
And then all you need to do is you get a stump. They were using a stump as a base, so you would carry it. One guy's holding it in the tongs on the stump, and then you're taking the sledgehammers and you're taking turns whacking it to get it at least a little bit more compressed. Yep. But that was a heck of a demonstration. I was really impressed with that. And then I watched a little bit of some forging with Jim Crowell, who was showing the difference between hand forging and power hammer forging.
Okay.
And it was cool. I walked in and out of there, and I was also watching Emiliano's smelting during that time. Then they had a nice lunch where they had the Anvil Cafe or something set up, and you can go and purchase hot dogs, burgers, chili. It was good. Mm-hmm. And then they did an auction after lunch that lasted almost 2 hours.
Wow.
And it was Mace Vitale who was running the auction.
Cool.
And they had a lot of good things up, and it was a fun time. A lot of people purchased some interesting items, and some stuff was like $5 Walmart pocket knife, and some stuff was like some of the steel that Emiliano had made prior to coming up, or like there was a couple really nice knives, a couple Damascus billets that people had made and put up for sale that got a couple $100. So it was really fun to see that, but it was also very hot, and it was inside this building. I didn't even describe the School of Metalwork. So it's the 3 buildings on their campus. One of them is like a classroom that also has dorms for the teachers that come there.
Okay.
Then there's a whole middle area that's generally their welding shop, but they had that set up as like the open forge space if you wanted to go forge something.
Okay.
Then they had the blacksmith shop, which is a whole separate building. And there's a giant room that had nothing in it yet because I think they just started moving things because they opened a new building recently. But the blacksmithing shop is awesome. There's tons of forges, tons of propane and charcoal forges, and it was crazy. So anyway, in the afternoon after the auction, I was watching. I wanted to listen to Lynn Ray's theory. He had a whole thing on handle and guard theory and fit up, and there was a lot of people in this tiny classroom. And the class itself was more of him kind of like addressing more individual questions that people might have had or as they came across stuff in the field. So I was kind of like, this is so very specific to them. It's not, I mean, maybe at some point if I were to listen, I would learn something down the road that would be handy, but I was I was getting a little bit zoning out. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go over to the grinding class that's being put on and watch the guy grind on a blade for a little bit. And that one was like, I walked over and it looked like 2 or 3 people were sleeping, like while sitting on the bleachers while watching, and a lot of people were like, it was very soothing just to go there and the guy's just grinding a blade and he's showing it off as he does it, but you can't see him, you can't get in close and see what's happening.
You can't.
So it's just like very soothing.
That's great.
It was good. And then there was a break for dinner, and then that evening they had super battle. It was Lynn Ray versus Emiliano.
Okay.
Versus Mace Vitale.
All right.
Mace Vitale. And then fourth, our good buddy Josh Weston.
All right.
Flew in for the event to compete in this Battle of the Bladesmiths. And they had 2 hours to completely forge, heat treat, and attach handles to a knife.
That's
2 hours.
Crazy.
It was Forge and Fire on steroids. It was craziness. They were allowed to prep some stuff ahead of time, like they were allowed to have some of their handle material stuff prepped and ready to go. And they had basic ideas like for what they were going to do, but they had certain parameters they needed to follow. And it was really something. It was really a crazy thing to watch, just how quickly they're going and forging these out, and then who's going to quench first and who's going to temper their blade, because they had to like do some normalizing and tempering, and they had a grinder set up, and Mace Vitale's over there with the angle grinder like set up on his bench, just shooting sparks off into the crowd. And it's like, oh man. and Josh is like, you know, Josh, you've seen him on Forge and Fire, and he's got 3 hours to forge a blade, and his hair is sticking straight up. He was all over the place getting stuff done. And it was really something to watch. And Lynn Ray, not only did he forge his blade out, he forged a guard for forged a slot through the guard to put on.
Right.
Like, all he had was like basically a chisel that had a little bit more of a rectangular flat face, got this big lump of steel that he had shaped, and then he just put it on the anvil and just started do, and it just forged the slot right through. I had no idea you could do that. I guarantee you if I tried it would get messed up big time. But But he managed to get that. And it was funny because I saw Ryan Brewer there as well.
Yeah.
And so I kept bumping into him as the event was going on.
Yep.
And he's like in his element at an event like this. And so he's like back and forth. And he's like, oh, yeah. And then he sees Lynn Ray forging the guard. And he goes, Lynn Ray's flexing. Lynn Ray's flexing over here. Yeah. Oh, it was funny. It was really funny. And so it came down to the end of the 2 hours. And everybody managed to turn in blades at the end of the 2 hours. They had to do some performance tests, which included slicing a rolling paper. It's like the guy that was running is like, this is my older brother's rolling papers. The guy that was running it, his name is Nick Rossi, and I think he's one of the guys that runs the school.
Yeah.
And he makes amazing knives, and he's got this long hair that he keeps up in a ponytail, like bunned up in the back.
Yeah.
And he's like, these are my brother's rolling papers. Can you cut this with one like slip? And I think maybe Lynn was able to cut it. I don't know if anybody actually else was able to fully cut it with theirs. Like it's a really difficult task. Then they had to go over to a hanging water balloon that was like not like a full water balloon, like a half-filled water balloon, so that it was like not like the skin expanding very much. And they had to try to cut a hole in this hanging water balloon. And I think Mace did it, and I believe Emiliano did it. Lynn missed, and that counts. You only get one swing. And Josh hit it, but I don't think it cut into it. And then, what was the last test? I could have sworn there was a third test, and now I'm blanking on what it was. But anyway, they also had judges, including Matt Parkinson was one of the judges, but there was 3 guys, including some master smiths and stuff. I should have written down all their names, but I was just trying to enjoy it at that point.
Yeah.
And when it came down to it, the winner ended up being Emiliano Carrillo of Sun and Stars Forge.
Okay.
Apparently, he won last year as well. But, I mean, you should have seen, like, at the end of this thing, he had everything was done, and he's hand polishing in, like, water with sandpaper, like, squatting on the ground, just, like, going. And meanwhile, Josh Weston's over here. And Mace Vitale sitting at the bench.
Yeah.
And it was just craziness. So I was like so blown away by the event.
Yeah, it sounds pretty awesome.
And it was great to see Emiliano win it because that was really cool. And then they were breaking everything down immediately afterwards so they could put it away because you don't want to leave all those tools out, forges and grinders and everything. So I booked it back to my Airbnb and passed out for the evening.
Nice.
I also ran into Morgan. Do you remember Morgan who worked the Big Blue booth at Blade
I remember her. Yeah.
She's from New York City.
Right.
She was at the event.
Oh, cool.
She's part of the New England group of Smiths, and she was actually one of the cooler ones there that talked to me because not a whole lot of people knew who I was, which was fine. I wasn't looking to be recognized. I was there to learn, but I didn't know that many people either. And I'm sure you know by now, as knowing me for many years, if I get into places where I don't know many people, I tend to clam up. And I don't talk very much. It's
hide in the bathroom.
Hide in the bathroom. But I just don't. I just don't talk to people. So like, it was cool to see Ryan Brewer and Josh Weston and Josh Prince and Morgan because this is friendly faces.
Yeah.
Matt Berry. I saw Matt Parkinson was there.
Yeah.
A few more people that we had met through going to Dragon's Breath Forge were there.
Okay.
And so, I got around and talked to as many of those people as I could. But I was, I told you before I went to the event, I was kind of nervous about going. I didn't know what to expect. And
what'd I say? You're going to have a great time.
I had a great time, but it was kind of like, even though I did know some people, I still felt like, I don't know what I'm doing here. But I enjoyed it. But it was a weird feeling on my part.
You know what you're doing there?
No, I know that.
There's random people from the public there. You're just part of the public.
Well, no, it wasn't just like if you were there, generally most of the people there were related somehow or another to the ABS.
Yeah, whatever.
Anyway,
it was a good event.
It was a good event, and to the people that put it on, I believe it was Nick Rossi, Barbara Wechter, and Derek Glazer were the people that work at the school.
All right.
They put on this whole event, New England School of Metalwork. Check that Instagram out, their website. They do classes all year round where they bring in teachers to do forging classes and stuff, and amongst other things. And it was really cool. And that was just on the Saturday. I missed the first day where they had the first forging, and they did some journeyman smith performance tests the night before as well.
That would have been cool to see.
Yeah, I missed that, but 2 people passed the performance test. One of them, I believe, is he goes by at Ledley L Knives on Instagram, and his name is Jonathan Caruso. He recognized me.
Oh, really?
He goes, "I love you guys' podcast. Keep up the good work." I'm like, "Oh, thanks, man." And then he's like, "Oh yeah, I just passed my performance test for the JS yesterday." I was like, "Oh, that's awesome."
That's cool.
So he's in Massachusetts. He's like, "Hey, if you're ever around the area, you want to come work?" I'm like,
all right.
Couldn't hurt to know somebody that's, already hitting the journeyman smith level, right? If I'm just starting off. So that was cool. And give him a follow, Ledley L Knives on Instagram, Jonathan Caruso. And where was I going with all this? There was just so many people there, and there's like so much learning going on. There was a lot of guys there that I follow on Instagram that I've never connected them in person and who they were. Yeah. So there's one guy that called Nick Anger, who you may have heard of. Anger Knives. He lives in Vermont, I think he said, and like I never had thought of who this guy was, but when I was at the smelting thing, this giant dude comes walking over. He's got to be, it looked like close to 7 feet tall. He's a tall dude.
Wow.
At least 6'5", 6'6", maybe more than that. And he's joking around. He's wearing Crocs and shorts and just kind of like hanging out. And everybody knows who he is. And I'm just like, I'm fucking in the dark here. Yeah. Like, who is this guy? And then at one point, I was talking to Morgan, and she's like, "Oh, you know him? Do you know him?" I'm like, but she's saying their full names, not like their Instagram handle. So I'm like, I don't know.
Right.
Maybe. And so anyway, I was like, once I realized who this guy was and I saw the knives that he makes, you should look at Anger Knives. Right. He makes these incredible Damascus knives. And he comes up with some crazy, crazy patterns. Really amazing stuff. And Sunday, before I left, I was in line at the New Jersey Steel Baron, who, hey, look, I'm repping New Jersey Steel Baron tonight.
New Jersey Steel Baron.
Yeah.
Not Bearing like I always thought when I've heard them on Knife Talk.
Yeah. Nope, not Bearing.
Not Bearing. I didn't really think it would be that far off. I said, well, if this company makes bearings, then they must deal with steel a lot. So, yeah, I guess they sell it too. That's kind of how I rationalize that.
It is good rationale.
Yeah.
But it turns out they're the New Jersey Steel Baron. Like the Baron of Steel in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And I guess they'd go around to a lot of these events. Like they showed up in a van, and they had that van loaded with just all these different size, different steel varieties, just huge load of them in your van. And the first day, there was just a line of people, and I was like, oh, I don't want to go check it out now. I don't even know what I'm looking at.
True.
Like, I don't know very much about steel yet. So then the second day, they weren't there when I was watching the first class, which was basically, that was a low-tech heat treating class where Lynn Ray was showing how to kind of do heat treating with like a little torch. Another good class. But as I was literally walking to my car to leave, the Steel Baron van rolls back in.
Oh, nice.
And I ran over and I was like, all right, I need something that's good for beginners. So I can't remember the guy's name right now, but he goes by Frosty Otter on Instagram.
Cool.
I met him at Dragon's Breath Forge a long time ago.
Okay.
it's a younger kid that's working with what the heck is his name? J.D. Smith in Massachusetts, and learning from him. And I talked with him throughout the event a little bit here and there, and he was in line with me. So I was like, hey man, what do you recommend for somebody that's, just starting out? He goes, hey, get some 1084. That's easy to heat treat. It's easy to work with, and you can still make a good knife with it. So that's probably your best bet. So I bought 3 different widths of 1084 to work with, so I can try to start making some really small stuff, and then kind of medium and larger blades. Like I got 2-inch wide steel for some of it. Like you could really spread that out, make a thick blade.
Yeah.
So we'll see what I do with them.
All right.
So what else was there from the show? I mean, they had other classes that I didn't get to see. Like Nick Rossi did a blacksmithing techniques for Bladesmith class. Lynn Ray did a Damascus class. Then I missed the knife show because I had to leave. They had this whole area for this tag sale, and Sean, I sent you a picture of a drill press that I was like, oh man, if I got this drill press, would you help me? It was an old school hand crank drill press. I said, if I got this, would you help me set it up in the shop and attach it to the bench? And Sean's like, yeah, of course.
Right.
So I go and they also had the tongs that I need to make blades, because I don't have any good blade tongs, like box straws or anything. And they had price tags on them because there was supposed to be this tag sale. And I went and I go, I would like to purchase some stuff from your tag sale. And they said, oh, well, actually, that was a miscommunication. The tag sale is only going to be happening during the knife show, which is at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. And I was like, I'm leaving. I left at 10.
Right.
Like, there's no way I could stay that late. I had to get back.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, shit. Like, their tongs looked really nice. And while you can find similar tongs online, I was willing to pay more to buy them at this place because they looked like really nice tongs. Yeah. And I wanted to support this place after the event. I mean, I was really impressed with the whole setup, and I was like, I wish I could have just bought them, but the rules are rules, and they weren't doing it till the knife show, so I missed out.
Oh, well.
So, what are you going to do? But I didn't end up coming home with any new tools, just a couple bars of steel.
Well, so when you asked me about mounting that drill press, I was like, yeah, sure. I didn't see the picture of it because where I was, I didn't have enough reception to where it just downloaded. Okay. So I hadn't seen it. And I was like, yeah, sure. And then I got home later and I saw it and I was like, Jesus Christ. I was like, what is this thing? I was like, oh my God. So I was like, I'm thinking like, man, I hope he didn't get that thing because you can find something better than that.
Oh, you can easily buy one that is electric for like $100, $150 at a hardware store that'll do much better of a job. But this is an old school style like we used when we did the first blacksmithing course.
I know. But hey, I mean, I would hope it would be like in good working order, but that thing was like,
it was marked as it says still works good.
Doesn't look like it was. I mean, it's not like it came out of use.
Right.
It was sitting in the bottom of like a wet bog and they just threw it in the truck. Hey, remember that drill that you threw in the bog? Yeah, go fish it out of there. We're going to sell it. And so they slapped the price tag on it. And they turned it to make sure it still turned, and it did.
I didn't try turning it. So.
Well, I mean, that's their test for making sure it's in working order. They just cranked it like once, and like it's good to go. It was. I mean, it wasn't like gnarly, but I was like, wow. Let's go to Harbor Freight and get something.
I know I could do that, but this was an old school style. I thought.
If you got it, I would have helped it mount it.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Still would have been something.
Didn't get it, so it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. No.
But anyway, that's really the whole gist of it. It was a great event. I'm glad I went to it.
I wish I was there. Didn't make it. Well, maybe next year.
Maybe next year.
Yeah.
Or, there's other hammer-ins. Maybe if there's any closer ones coming up, we can attend that or at least pop our heads in and see what's up. So that's that. That was my big week of Infinite Forge stuff. It was just going and learning and not doing anything. I could have signed up for Forge Time, but I was like, I really don't want to. Like, all the other people here are much more accomplished knife makers than me, And I don't want to just be in this other room working on something right now when I kind of want to learn.
Yeah. It's not, you got your own shit going on.
Well, speaking of my own shit related going on, I also got this today in the mail.
Uh-oh.
You asked me, if you sign up for the ABS, well, what do you get? Do you get a card?
Oh, you do.
You do. You get a card.
Oh, man.
That says apprentice. So I am now officially an apprentice with the ABS. And not only did I get a card, I got a certificate.
Oh.
That says certifies Christopher de Cesare as an active member of the American Bladesmith Society and is entitled to all benefits of said membership as set forth in the society's bylaw. So I'm an apprentice.
All right.
Look at that.
You did it.
I did it. I signed up.
You went online.
I paid my $65.
Yeah.
But now my timer starts. So I can get working on knives, and then maybe in 3 years, if I've gotten my act together, I could maybe put together some journeyman Smith style knives, because you have to wait 3 years before you can test for journeyman, unless you take an ABS intro to bladesmithing course. Then they take a year off.
Okay.
So if I were to find one of those courses, which I think are generally like a 4-day, like a longer course, if I could take one of those, in 2 years I could test for JS if I was able to get some knives made. So the thing is, I need to start making some knives. And I don't have a grinder, and that's going to be a big problem, and I have to figure out how I'm going to handle that. But for now, I can start forging stuff, and I have some good steel to work with to start forging stuff. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to doing that. And at least I could forge out a number of blades and just not grind them. Just get them forged to the profile that I want or close to it, and then just grind them all some other time.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting because you could take the steel that I bought and just grind it, right, and just do stock removal. But it'll be fun to spread the metal out, because then you're getting more knives out of that one bar, because you can thin it out and spread it where you need it and all that. So I can't wait to get started on it when I actually get some time to go forge.
Sounds good to me.
That's it. That's all I got.
I'm with you.
I'm sure you are. Anyway, so that was the show. Thank you for watching. It's
been a long one.
Wrap-up.
Can't believe you're still here.
Well, that Forge and Fire wrap-up is going to be heavily edited. We're just going to listen. It's going to be chopped quite a bit.
This was long too. It's all long.
It is all long. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you're out working in a shop and you guys like long ones, then there you go. That was a long one for you. I think it was fairly interesting.
Here's a long one for you.
I think the Bladesmith Symposium stuff was interesting. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Thank you guys for watching. Remember to check out some more of our videos. Subscribe, like on the Facebook, Instagram, and all that good stuff. And next week, we'll be talking a little bit more about the Straight Razor Challenge.
Okay, cool.
Because technically that ends, I believe, tomorrow. And so we need to start getting some more pictures in from people, and then we'll probably set up something for next week to start looking at those pictures and going over them. So
sounds good.
That's our plan. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one.
Oh my God, did you see it? All right. You can put two hands around that.
That was a lie. It's not a star. It's a rock falling into our atmosphere.
Shooting star. But not really. That's all they call it. That's what they call it. How's that jerky treating you?
It's good.
Yeah.
I want to keep eating it.
Sounds like it's affecting your sinuses.
Oh, yeah, it is. It definitely is.